Hello everyone, this is Stephanie. Welcome to lesson 4 of the bead embroidery series. So we're moving right along, and today I think we can glue the ultra suede to our cuff blank, and also I'm going to do some beading with you. So I'm going to teach you some of the stitches. I know I did on the stitch video, but this is on the actual cuff. We'll do some beading. I'll show you how to put the cup chain on. I'll show you how to make a, do a line of beads and make a turn. I'll show you how to bead on top of your beads, and some suggestions for making your cuff look really beautiful. All right, so I'm going to clear this off. We're going to get started, but don't forget to check the description box below the video for all the materials. I'm just going to keep putting the same materials there from day one, so in case you want to order anything or you want a list of materials, it will all be there. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you've been enjoying my channel, and ring the bell so you get notified when I upload a video. So I'm going to clear this off and we're going to get started. Okay, it's time to glue the ultra suede to the inside of our cuff. So I've cut a piece that will fit the inside of my cuff. You want to make sure you have a little bit on the ends, a half an inch top bottom. We're going to be trimming this ultra suede down, but I just want to make sure that you have enough to fit. So just make sure, you're kind of like that. All right, so as far as the front and back of ultra suede, it's very hard to tell on this light one. I find I like this side. It's got less nap. I don't know if that is the one that's supposed to be on top, but I like it where the nap is a little shorter right here as opposed to the longer. Like this side looks nicer to me, which means we're going to do this like that. All right? So this is how it's going to go in. So now grab either grab an old bead mat or a piece of paper. I'm just going to put a piece of computer paper down here. And here's my piece that's going to go on. I'm going to take some Elmer's glue, and I'm just going to put a line of glue inside my cuff. You just got to go for it. Don't be nervous. Seriously. You should have enough to do at least 2 cuffs if you're using the ultra suede you got with your collection. So I have about that much on. We'll see if that's enough. Using the finger, because you want to make sure you're going to spread an even amount of the glue inside the metal cuff, like this. You don't want to glob it on too much. You just want a nice thin coat, but you want to get it to the edges. Remember, this is going to be sewn together as well, so you don't have to. You're not sort of relying on the glue as much as you want to have this on to be, on just as an additional way of holding it. All right. So here, so I have about like that. Now I'm just going to get a tissue. I'm going to clean off my finger because you don't want to get any glue on the outside of this. And it's such a light color, you just want to be careful. Here, so I'm just going to write any edges, any areas where the glue might have gotten on the edges. Okay, you got to go for it. Take your ultra suede, pop it in like that, and you're just going to press it down like that. You have a little time here, and you want to make sure that you press it down really good on the inside. I'm pressing rather than rubbing. So you want like this, and you want to make sure that you don't have any bubbles. And if you do, peel it up, get rid of that bubble, or, give it a little bit of a, I'm being very gentle. And you see how I have lots of the ultra suede on the outside so that I can trim this easily. Because remember, we're going to go pretty close. So just, rub it down a little bit. Make sure you don't have any bubbles. Thin layer of glue, perfect. And you're just going to leave it like that, and you're going to let it dry for at least 24 hours. And if you're not ready if you want to do this and you're not ready, to put on your, put this on yet, then you'll just put it in a plastic bag once it's dry and put it aside, and then we'll come back to it when we need it. But this is ready to go now. Okay, and once it's fully dry, I'm going to come back on another video and I'll show you how to trim when we start putting the cuff together. All right, so there you go. Just go for it. And then come on back and we'll do a little stitching on the cuff together. All right, see you in a few. Bead a little bit together so you can see what it's like to actually do it on the cuff if you haven't done that before. And I'll give you a few tips and tricks as that I have found to be helpful as we go along. So I want to start on this side, and I want to duplicate just this one area. I won't be duplicating everything, just the colors and the general theme, but I definitely want it to look the same here and here. So I'm going to be putting on these 11/0 and 2mm fire polish beads around the outside of this cabochon. So I've just threaded my needle with about 3 feet of thread, and I've come up through my backing right here at the edge. Okay. So one other tip, I generally do small areas at a time, and I knot them off and start a new thread. So when I do this, I'll do this, and then maybe a couple of more rows of the 11/0s. And that way, if I need to repair it down the line, I can just take out a small space and everything else is still intact and knotted. Or if I decide I don't like something, I can always pull it out. So just something that I do. So I'm going to pick up a 2mm and an 11/0. I'm going to drop those down. Now my goal here was to get the 2mm fire polish in between each of the rondelles, but it's probably not going to stay that way. So here I'm just going to sew down through my backing, come back up through the front of that first bead, the 2mm fire polish, and forward. I usually take my thumb and I push back a little bit to make sure the beads are seated nicely next to each other. Okay, pick up an 11/0 and a 2mm, drop those down like that. I'm going to push them back a little bit, pop my needle through, back 3, and forward 3. I'm going to push it back with my thumbnail a little bit, so like that. Then here, hold it down. That's what I have so far. So I want to keep that, pattern going, so I'm going to pick up 2 11/0s now. Drop those down. Give them a little push back. Put my needle in. Back 3. Forward 3. I'll do it one more time. 2mm and an 11/0. Don't you love those 2mm beads? I'll put those in the description box below the video because they are so gorgeous. I don't think they're true 2s, but they are 2mm fire polish beads, and they are beautiful. I love the metallic color. Okay, I'm going to push through. Back 3. And then forward 3. Get my needle in there, and I'll hold it out like that. And you do that all the way down, all the way to the end here. So I'm going to do this all the way to the end, and then I'm going to come back and show you how to make a turn to put another round of beads on. All right, see you in a few. So I'm coming down to the end. So we'll do the end together, and I'll show you how we can do a turn. Just do put the next round on, or the next row on. So here I'm putting my 2 beads on, like that. Back 3. Forward 3. Now I'm going to go back down, just with my needle and thread right in front of that last 11/0 I put on. Okay. Then I'm going to come up next to this row. So here's my 11/0, here's my 2mm. I'm going to come up around there. It's sort of close to the 2mm. You want to get it like as close to the top as possible. So like that. And then I've turned around now. So now I'm just going to go down in this direction and I'm just going to do 11/0s with backstitch. So 2 11/0s, pull in a little bit. On you go. Like that. Go back. And forward. Let me back out a little bit so I don't blur too much. Pick up 2 11/0s. Drop them down. Down your needle goes, and the front to the back. Go back 3, and then forward 3. Just going to continue that all the way down until I have another round on. And I'm not really worried about the lines I have here. I've gone off all the lines already. That's just sort of, a guide. All right, so I just wanted to give you that little tip. So I'm going to go play a little bit, and then we'll come back and I'll show you how to put these rondelles like right on top of your 11/0 so you get that texture. All right, see in a few. So I'm coming down to the end of this row right here. So here I've put the last bead on. I've gone back 3, come forward 3, and I'm just going to go down my backing. And at this point, I'm going to end this thread. So the way I usually end the thread is I try to find, so I'm coming out of the back. It's looking really funny, huh? And I usually try to find a thread nearby that I can just knot under. I mean, not everybody does this, I know, but I do. So I do sometimes a little half hitch knot, and then I'm going to pop right up through the beads anywhere. See how I'm just popping through? Like that. And then down again, just through the backing. I'm not going through any beads. And then that's secured that pretty nicely. And then I just take my clipper and I'll just clip this close at the moment to the end here. That doesn't want to cut. So we'll use our scissor. All right. So that's how that's how I generally end a little section. Now, you know what? Let me let you go end your section if you are with me, and then I'm going to show you how to get the cup chain on before we do the this little embellishment here. All right, see you in a minute. So I'm getting close to this bezel here, so I want to get my cup chain in position so that I have room for it. So it's not the same as the other side because I have 3 stones on this side. So I'm just going to pop it in right there. That's perfect. It's going to give me a nice little, so sort of mimicking this a little, but not exactly. So I'm just going to start there, like that, and I'm just going to bring it around through these guys, and then I think I'm just going to use the whole thing and just come right down and around. So in order to get this on, I'm just going to hold it like this, and I know I showed you in the other in the video, the stitch video, but let's do it together. So I'm just going to hold it here. I've threaded my needle. I made the little knot. I'm coming through the backing, so I'm going to come up right in between this bezel and the 2 stones right here. Getting this first stitch on is just everything, and after that it's easy. Okay, so here I'm just going to come down on the other side. See the little bar in between the stones, just coming down on the other side to tack it down. Pull. Now it's on. Now I don't have to worry about it. Okay, so now I'm just going to hold it there, and I'll just, play with positioning as I go. So here I've come down to the backing, come back up the backing on the other side of the second little stone. Come on through. So down on the other side of the little bar in between. You're just tacking this all the way down. And like some people will Just be careful you don't get caught on the little prongs, like right there. Let me make sure. Okay. Yeah, just be very careful of that because these little prongs that stick up here, it's very easy to get caught on them. So then come up through the backing. I'm doing it on the edge of the bezel, so it's kind of bezeling the bezel a little bit. And then I'm just going to hold it like this. You can push them together so there's not so much space in between them, or you can add a bead in between the little stones if you like, maybe a little bugle bead or a, I don't know, whatever fits in between there, because there is some space there if you want. Okay, all right, so now my cup chain is going on, so I'm just going to just continue it around to where it looks pretty. I want to use the whole thing, so I'm just going to come all the way around this guy. So I'll just like sort of tack it down in that, sort of that fashion. And then I can continue beading with the 11-ohs. You'll have a little loose one at the end. Don't worry about it. We can always pop a bit of glue under there to glue that down. But we're going to be beading all around it, so it will be, it'll be fine. All right, so if you want to put your cup chain on, go ahead and then come on back, and I'm going to show you how to sort of fill in a little bit and put the rondelles on the top of your seed beads. Okay, so I decided to add another round of 11-ohs because I did it on this side. So when I was looking at it, I have 2 rounds, 2 rows of 11-ohs. So I want to show you what happens when you come up to something you think you can't fit in, or you need to go around. So I'm just going to keep going. So if I hold it flat like this, it looks like it can only fit 2 11-ohs there, so I'm going to put those in. Just like we've been doing. So put 2 on, go back 3, go forward 3. Like that. All right, so at this point, you see when I sort of bend it a little bit so where it's going to go around my wrist, you have plenty of room to fit that entire row in there. So you don't really want to stop at this point. I'm going to put the entire row in. So that's sort of a judgment you have to make. Like sometimes if this bead was a little bit like right up against this bead, then you would stop here. Okay? So I'm just going to continue on putting my beads all the way to the end, and then when I straighten it out, you'll see that it definitely fits. But like I said, if this crystal was like right up against these beads, you would stop here, and then you would end your thread at that point, and then continue on the other side. All right, so I'm just going to continue going down, and then we'll put the rondelles back for a second. So I know we're going to get to those rondelles in a second. I just keep finding things I want to share with you. So here, I've got my second row done, so I just want to show you how you fill in this little area here. So I've ended, so I'm going to go down my backing, and then I'm going to come back up right here next to the row I just did, and I'm just going to keep adding beads and then turning around. So I'm going to add 2. Drop those down. Pop in my needle. Go back. Come forward. Like that. Now, I think I can fit 2 in the next space. If you can't, just put 1 on. But I think I'm going to try 2. Like that. It looks like it's a little tight, but honestly, I kind of like try to push them in if I can. I don't want them buckled, but you see how that went in? Didn't look like it was going to go in, but it did. So then I'm going back 3. And forward 3. And because I've hit my crystals, I'm just going to go down into the backing and back up here, right back up here to start another row. So from back to front right here. And then I'm just going to start another row, and I'm going to put on maybe 2 or 3 here, then 2, then 1, and then I'll be done with this little corner. All right, so get that done, and then I will definitely come back and put the rondelles on. Also, one other thing, if this bead is loose, see how it's popping up like that? You know, the end of the cup chain? Take a little E6000, bend it over, pop the E6000 a drop in there, and glue it down, and that it will never come up. All right, so we'll be back in a second. Okay, so I filled into this point, and I'm going to stop here. I just want to show you how to put these rondelles on, and then I think we're pretty good. All right, so I've threaded my needle, coming through the backing. I'm starting down here, right here. Just want to come in between these 2 rows. So here, see how my needle's coming up in between? Can you see that? Oh, no, it's hard to see, but right in between. So I'm going to put my round in between these 2 rows of 11-ohs. So I'm going to pick up an 11-oh and a little rondelle. I'm going to drop them down, and they're going to sit right on top of those beads. I know it's hard to see, but just sit them like right on top, and just make sure your needle goes down in between the 2 rows. See that? My needle's going down in between the 2 rows. And this is what gives that texture. And then come on back. So you're doing the same back stitch, only just doing it in between 2 rows of 11-ohs. Pick up an 11-oh and a rondelle. Drop them down. Just staying on that one line in between. Your needle is going down in between these beads. So pop right through. Go back. 3. And then forward 3. Like that. And that's just going to place your rondelles on top of the 11-ohs. And, you know, if your 11-ohs look sort of bunchy or like uneven, it kind of hides that, and it makes it look better, I think. All right, so I think that's about it. Oh, one other thing I wanted to mention. If you have the collection, because we're using a lot from the Fairy Frost collection here, and you have these, I believe these are the little 10mm Rivolis, and the Rivoli setting. That setting is not that high. If you want to just put one of those, like I wish I had done that, but I don't want to take off my druzy. You can put it right there, and you can just bead, do 8-ohs right around it. So you're going to clasp, push these prongs in to make the setting proper. You're going to put it down, and then just do some 8-ohs around it. I mean, so easy. So this, I didn't really think of that at first. So these little Rivoli settings can be used easily on a cuff. So I thought that was like, that was great. All right, so go off and play and have fun. I think we've done just about every stitch that I felt like was really necessary, that might be helpful, and some tips and tricks. Okay, so enjoy making the rest of your cuff, and then we are going to put it all together pretty soon. All right, see you soon.